Hello, all you beautiful people out there. How's it going? Welcome back to the Disney Debate, where Kat Mac, Y2Staller, and I debate many things, most of it being about Disney films, some of it being about holidays and Halloween and Christmas. We have had a very interesting year of 2016. And while not all of it has been good, there have been some really interesting Disney films. So today, instead of our usual talk about the Disney film of the time, going through the timeline, today we are talking about this year in review. And joining me once again is my comrade in arms, Kat Mac.
Hello.
And, of course, the tall man, Y2Staller.
Thought you were gonna say like the tall, goofy guy, because that would make sense given that it's a show about Disney, podcast about Disney stuff.
No, you're just tall, incredibly tall, like just tall.
So wait, you're Goofy? Does that mean I'm Donald? That makes sense.
What does that make me?
You're Oswald. The true Mickey.
Yes.
Now you're too fat to be Mickey.
The epic Mickey. Oh, wait.
Oh, boy. So,
let's not get into that.
As I alluded to just a minute ago, we're talking about this year in review. This is something a little bit different for the show. We haven't done this, although Kat usually does a written review of all the Disney films from best to worst, in her opinion. And I thought this would actually be a good idea to bring on the show because I don't normally rank them, usually because they're so fresh in my mind. But this has been a fantastic year for Disney films.
That's for damn sure.
While I didn't see all of them, the ones that I did see left a very lasting impression, and it was very hard for me to come up with my top 5. And like I said, I didn't see all of them, so when I say top 5, these are like the films that I've seen. But Disney came out very strong with some very interesting films. Kat, do you want to kick this off, since I know there's some films that you and Eric have seen that I have not seen yet?
Oh, yeah. Because as you all know, I am crazy when it comes to keeping up my Disney quota for the year. So, and of course, I drag Eric with me, so he can suffer. Or enjoy. Whichever happens. So,
I try to come in with an open mind, so.
Pretty much. So yeah, as Zenith mentioned, I do usually a top 5 best, top 5 worst. I mean, it kind of fluctuates throughout the year. Sometimes we only have 8 releases, sometimes we have 10. This year we have 10. And normally I would start off with saying the 5 I thought were the worst, or at least I didn't think were as good as they could have been, and then move on to the 5 best. This year was hard, though, because I couldn't even accumulate a top 5 worst. Like, that's how good this year's been for me, personally, in terms of the movies. So, I decided to just do the traditional, let's start at the bottom of the barrel and work our way to the top. So, and luckily, I dragged the tall man with me, so he's seen everything that I've seen, so our list probably will be relatively similar.
The way we incorporate what counts as a Disney film and what doesn't, because Disney has so many different, we count anything under the Walt Disney Pictures banner, which also includes the animation stuff, the animation studios, as well as Pixar. We also count Marvel Studios, and recently we now count Lucasfilm, because Lucasfilm is under the Disney banner as well.
Yeah, because the palette of food just grows larger, and I love it.
And we just keep on eating and eating and eating.
You don't need to eat anymore.
I don't need to get any fatter, but that Disney plate looks mighty nice. You know what I'm saying?
No, it's mine. Mine.
Don't make me separate you two.
Separate us. I'm enveloped in her fat already. Like, how can you possibly separate me? But yeah, joking aside, so yeah, there was, like I said, surprisingly a lot of good films this year. I was genuinely surprised, especially toward the beginning of the year. Because typically, I noticed the trend in Disney films is that they start off the year with like lackluster stuff, then of course they bust out the summer blockbusters, and then it's back to the shitty stuff. Then there's like that one film that comes out that's usually nominated for an Oscar, and everything else is just eh. But they've been on a really good consistent basis this year. Like there's only really 2 films I could say that I thought were genuinely bad. So we should mention though, there are some films that technically fall under the Disney banner that we did not see, either, at lack of interest or we just were not aware of it. I believe, Eric, you know what those 2 films were, right?
Yeah, one of them was The Finest Hours, which came out in January. And
I did like the trailer for it. I just didn't know it was coming out.
Mm-hmm. The other one was Queen of Katwe, which came out in October, and we just didn't have time. We just didn't have time to get around to that.
I had no idea that film's existence till like a week before it came out. That's how little they advertised it.
Yeah, that one really did kind of flew under the radar. Like I only knew about it because I saw trailers for it. Well, I saw trailers for it online as well as seeing it in the theaters when we were seeing the other Disney stuff.
Yeah, I mean, we might tackle it like way, way later down the line, but right now it's not really something we're like striving to see. It's not like the other stuff on this list that, as soon as we saw it, we're like, we gotta go see it. So apologies if it's not considered a complete list, but, we're tackling the main stuff, and that's what's important.
Exactly. So. Like, the Queen of Katwe is not something that everyone is clamoring to see, so.
Mm-hmm. I think even if we were to have seen both films, I think if we were even to have seen both films, I don't think it would have changed our lists as far as our ranking goes whatsoever. I don't think it would make that much of an impact.
Mm-hmm. Probably not, but, like I said, we'll find out way later down the line someday. So, shall we get to the list then?
Let's do lists with all of you.
So yeah, the first 5 are what we, like I said, we start off at our very worst pick and just go up from there. Since Zen did not see all the movies like we did, he's gonna jump in toward the end of our top 5 with his, I guess, bottom 3 it would be, because you only saw 8 of the films, right?
I'll go through, like, when you mention them, I'll let you know if I saw them and then where they rank on my list.
Okay, that sounds good. Alrighty then. So let's start with number 10. The worst film I've seen. Pete's Dragon, the remake.
Yeah, this one.
Boring.
I did not see it, and
you're not missing much.
Judging by that reaction, I didn't miss anything.
Yeah, I'm assuming it's the same placement for you too, Eric, right?
It is. It's the exact same. It's the exact same place. This was an odd choice for Disney to remake, because I know Disney is kind of in the process where they're kind of remaking their stuff, whether they're doing a live action version of their animated stuff or just simply taking some of their older properties that they've done and just redoing them. I mean, they have been doing it, but for something like Pete's Dragon, it's just an odd choice. I mean, I grew up watching the original Pete's Dragon, but when I saw that they were going to be doing a remake to this, I was like, wait, really? And now keep in mind the original was a musical. So the original version, there was music. I mean, it's about a boy and his dragon, boy and his imaginary dragon, as he's like trying to escape from his current family or whatever, and he's hiding out in this town, and he's hiding and he encounters this other family who wants to adopt him, but the other family's like, no, he's our child, blah 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 blah. No, you can't have him. And there's this snake oil salesman who finds out that dragons can be used for other things and cure diseases and stuff. And it's a very bizarre movie looking back at it, but none of that would have made this movie more interesting, though, because none of that is in the original, in the remake, excuse me.
Yep. Yeah, honestly, there's little to no connection to the original in the remake. Like, you have the dragon, which looks, actually, no, it does not look at all like it does in the first one. You have a dragon that is named Elliot, and you have a boy named Pete. That is basically the only thing the two films have in common. Everything else is completely different. Like, it for me, I actually did not watch Pete's Dragon till this year. Like, I know that sounds weird, especially like how into Disney films I am. Like, but the thing is, like, my dad, who is the reason why I've seen almost every single Disney film in existence, he would not watch this movie. Like, he said he watched part of it and he hated it. And he did not want to subject me to it. That is how bad that movie is. So I watched it, and yeah, it is a bad film. It is so weird, it is so hokey, and nothing in it makes sense. But one thing I could say for certain, at least it was entertaining with how bad it was. Like, between the dragon with its weird clicky noises, and the hokey bad guy, and all that other stuff in between, yeah, at least it was somewhat entertaining in its badness. This film was just flat out boring. I was like, my ass was twitching so bad throughout the whole viewing. I was just begging for it to be over, and like, everything was so bad. The acting is bad, the writing is bad, the directing, like, everything was so bad.
It just moves at a snail's pace. That's the problem. That was the main problem with the movie. It moves very, very slowly, and it didn't need to. I mean, it could have been much more, but like they were basically trying to play it serious, and it could have worked if it had better direction, but it just. But like I said, it's an odd thing for Disney to choose to remake. It's like,
I mean, theoretically they could have made it work if they made it so that it took place in a fantasy land or a place where magic exists, something of that nature to incorporate more of the dragon element. But no, they keep everything grounded in real life, and it's just so weird, and nothing makes sense, and it's like there was no imagination, no creativity. I will say, though, they did fix one thing that really bothered me about the film. In the original version, the dragon can disappear at will, but even though he disappears, the kid could somehow still see him, which makes me wonder, how does he know if he's invisible, if he can still see him? So that always bugged me. But in the film, they make it so that he camouflages, so you could still sort of see him. It's just, you have to really look. So I thought that was one thing that they at least did right. The other thing I liked is that it was Robert Redford. Because, he's just a cinnamon roll of an actor, and he's just, he brings such a nice, warm charm to him in whatever he's in.
Yeah.
It's just a shame that this movie is the reason why he retired from acting. It's just such a shame.
Yeah.
But yeah, that was the only two things I liked in this movie. Otherwise, it is totally forgettable and is not worth looking at all. Do you agree?
Oh, I agree.
Yeah, I believe I said everything there is to say about the movie.
Yeah, really, there's not much to say.
Yep. On to the next one. So next,
Number 9.
Number 9.
Number 9.
Tell me your pick, Eric.
My number 9 pick is, and this is probably yours also, I want to say Alice Through the Looking Glass.
Agree.
As my number 9.
Another film I did not see.
Now, I actually did not see the first one, the first Alice the first Alice in Wonderland, the live action one. I did not see that version. Although I did catch it on TV recently, the part where the Mad Hatter does a break dance near the end. It's like,
Oh, God.
Go Hatter, go Hatter. It's your unbirthday. It's your unbirthday.
Kill that scene with fire.
There's a reason I didn't see this film. I didn't see it because I was mostly out of protest, because everything I heard about it seemed bad. I didn't like the look of the first one. Most people didn't like the first one. Why would I see the sequel? It baffles me that they keep going with it, and it turned out to be something really, really bad, so I'm glad I did not see it.
Well, the thing with that one is you don't necessarily need to see the first one to understand what's going on in the second. I mean, if you understand that there was a thing between the White Queen and the Red Queen from the first one, they battled against each other, that's about it. Because the sequel mostly focuses on the Mad Hatter, and also the new character they added, which is Time, played by Sacha Baron Cohen, and he does a pretty good job. Mm-hmm. But the whole movie is just kind of a mess. It's a
clusterfuck of wibbly wobbly timey wimey stuff.
Exactly.
They should rename it Alice Fucks Up Time, because that's pretty much what happens in this film.
I know, it's a whole... They make it a time travel movie, which didn't need to be a time travel movie, because, what else are they going to do with the sequel?
Right.
And the visuals was just, like, you could tell it was all CGI stuff. I hate it with movies where it's all CGI, and it's just, wish it was...
I don't mind if the CGI is done well, but like the CGI in the Alice in Wonderland movies is just so weird. It's like stylistic to the point of being ugly.
Yeah.
Like it's not like completely atrocious, but it's just like really unpleasant to look at. And it's like what you're looking at is obviously fake. And I get it, they're trying to like go with Tim Burton's sort of style that he tries to add to all his movies, but it's just a bad-looking film from a cinematography perspective. It just really is. And yeah, like you said, it's a clusterfuck. Like, they're supposed to have like a lesson about, accepting the inevitable and growing up and letting things go, but like at the same time, Alice is like going back and forth through time, just fucking up shit wherever she goes, and it's like you're trying to keep track of one plot line and then keeping track of another, and it's just ugh. I can't even describe it.
It just raises too many questions.
There you go.
There you go.
That's my nuts of the movie.
And then in a way, it kind of makes the White Queen look like an asshole.
Oh yeah.
By the end of it all.
I actually think
by the end of it all.
That actually really pissed me off, because I liked the White Queen in the first one. I thought she was really funny. But in this one, like, yeah, they made her out to be a passive aggressive bitch, and that really annoyed me. Like, I was actually feeling bad for the Red Queen at times, but I don't know. Like, they're both unpleasant characters. There's so much unpleasantness in this film. I mean, I don't really like the Alice films to begin with, but just this one, just ugh. I wouldn't bother seeing it again.
No.
Number 8.
Number 8. So yeah, this one, I didn't necessarily think it was bad, but compared to everything else, yeah, it's not the best. My number 8 is the BFG.
Yep.
This is one that I really wanted to see, but there were so many things going on in theaters at the time. Some of the other films actually were in theaters at this point, and I wanted to see them first. So yeah, I haven't seen the BFG. I wanted to, especially because I grew up with the book. But sadly, I have not seen the BFG.
We saw this one in 3D, right?
Yeah, I believe we did.
Yeah, we did. I mean, it was gorgeous in 3D.
Oh, definitely. The visuals are actually quite stunning in this film. It's like amazing how accurate, like how realistic they made it look on the giants. And like especially the scene with the tree, the magical tree was actually really beautiful.
Mm-hmm.
So the problem I just found with the film was the pacing. Like everything like went really slow. Like it really meandered in certain parts.
I mean, the pacing wasn't as bad as it was in Pete's Dragon, but this one, I mean, at least the visuals in BFG were stunning enough, to keep you occupied. But it's kind of like after a while, it's like, can we kind of move along here?
It's like, okay, can something happen now, please? Yeah, I'll admit I actually never read the book. I opted to go into this blind just to, get a feel for it as a movie itself. And I do think some of the book elements do hurt the story, or at least the flow of the movie. Like I said, they do dedicate this entire scene to a giant sitting down to eat dinner with the queen and how he keeps awkwardly messing up and embarrassing himself and then farting. So, I mean, it was entertaining, but it's like, okay, did we really need to dedicate like 10 minutes of the movie to this?
I mean, possibly. The book does a lot with. To be fair, the original source material has farting in at least one chapter.
Well, it is a kid's book.
Yeah, so I mean,
Yes.
It's keeping in spirit with the book, so I can understand that.
Yeah, like I said, it probably would help if I read the book, but yeah, as a movie in and of itself, I just thought it was a nice spectacle, but really nothing else beyond that. I don't know, what do you think?
I mean, I agree. It was a spectacle to see, and I mean the acting was definitely better than Pete's Dragon, but once again, it was the pacing. It was the pacing of it. Like it could have just gone a little bit better.
Mhm.
I'm still mesmerized by the world the world that is created, that they create, but it's just. I mean, for a kids movie, it's okay, but I mean, some adults might fall asleep halfway through.
Yeah, definitely. Okay, number 7.
I will start this off with number 7, in that as much as I am a fan of this franchise, when I saw it, and I thought about it and coming up with this list, I could not, in good conscience, put it in my top 5, and which is this film at number 7. That's Rogue One.
Yeah, that I put it there too.
I figured you would put it. I figured you would do that.
I was worried. I thought you were going to put it higher, and then you'd be mad at me because I put it so low.
No. But as much as I am a Star Wars fanboy, to an extent, I'm not like a diehard like.
Yeah, you only have like a million figures like lined up in front of your TV and all over your apartment.
I mean, if we did the list, I think if we did the list last year, the list last year, I probably would have put Force Awakens in my top 3 somewhere.
Oh yeah, definitely.
But
There's no doubt about that.
But this one kind of. Here's the thing is that I know everybody's saying how great Rogue One is. I mean, it is a great movie, but the first half of the film kind of weighs it down.
Extremely.
And ironically, that's actually where a lot of the reshoots came in, because there was reshoots for Rogue One, and most of the reshoots were stuff related to the first half of the film.
I should mention we will keep this spoiler free since Zen has not seen it, and I know some people out there haven't seen it yet.
I swear this is the last film I have not seen. Everything else on the list I have seen. It's just these 4. I was supposed to see Rogue One. Unfortunately, work and me sleeping a lot got in the way of that.
I actually wasn't expecting to see Rogue One the weekend it came out because I was so busy with work, but then one of my schedules got switched, so I was able to see it. So, but what I can say without getting into details, like the second half, the second half, like the second half of Act 2 going into Act 3, is wonderfully done. It really is. It really is wonderfully done.
Yeah, honestly, they should have made the whole movie the second act, in my opinion.
Or they should have just at least cut down on some stuff in the first half, but because it's kind of all over the place in the first half. But It is a different kind of Star Wars movie, that I will say.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, there's definitely some things in there, like character-wise, that they could have put a little bit more time character development-wise. There were some things here and there that made you go, really? Like some of the cameos and stuff, but it does tie in. It does tie in a couple of plot holes from, like, especially from the first Star Wars movie. It does tie in some stuff. Like, you find out a little bit more about the Death Star plans and the details of it. I'm not gonna go any further than that, because I mean, that is the plot of the movie: is the rebels getting the Death Star plans.
Spoilers: the Death Star blows up.
No, that's in the sequel. But...
No. Yeah. Honestly, I'll break. I guess, to keep this relatively vague, so I'm not spoiling anything, there are 3 things I liked and 3 things I hated about this movie. In terms of what I hated, the first half, as you said. The second thing is the characters, because honestly,
Yeah.
I can only name maybe 1 or 2 characters that I liked, and they were mostly comic relief.
Mm-hmm.
And the third thing, and it didn't necessarily ruin the film for me, but I found it a bit questionable, was a certain, I'll say, technique that they did in order to incorporate certain characters from the first movie in there.
I know what you're talking about, and I'm not going to say it.
Yeah, I know.
I thought that was a bit questionable. Like,
Yeah.
I mean, I like I said, I don't want to say anything further than that, just that I thought it was a bit weird. And it kind of took me out of the movie a bit.
I heard about that. Somebody told me about it, and I'm just like, I mean, yeah, they're gonna start doing that a lot more these days, unfortunately.
There is one way they could have, with one of those things, they could have done it another way. I saw it how they could have easily just done it another way without having to do that thing. But with with the first thing that they were trying to do,
Right.
like I could
that's
see
all we'll
having
say
no
about
way
the
around
thing.
it. But
Otherwise,
they could have polished it up a little bit better. But with the second thing, there was another way they could have gone around that.
It's called.
I know I'm being
puppets.
very vague, but
Yeah.
Puppets.
As for the 3 things I liked the best about this film, that I thought they did the best, as you probably figured, there's a badass space battle. Like, that is
Yes.
something that was sorely missing. That was sorely missing in Force Awakens.
Yeah.
So I'm glad that they put that there. You actually get some pretty badass scenes with Vader, which, was long overdue. And they finally explain away that whole plot hole about the Death Star. That
we're
whole
not
thing.
gonna-
Yeah. I'm not saying
it.
Yeah, the whole exhaust port thing, they finally explained it in a way that is acceptable. So, the fact that they managed to close up a plot hole that's been around for over 30 years, yeah, I gotta give them credit for that.
Mm-hmm.
And it's kind of brilliant the way they go about that. It's like, yeah, that actually kind of makes sense.
I wish I knew, but I'll wait and see. I'm probably gonna buy it.
That's everything I'll say about Rogue One, though. Like I said, it's better than the prequels, but definitely not as good as Force Awakens or the original. It's just there. It's not necessarily needed, but it's worth a watch.
Technically, Rogue One is a prequel because it takes place before the original trilogy.
It's the best prequel we've got.
It's a prequel to the sequels, and then a sequel to the prequels.
Exactly.
Okay, number 6.
Number 6.
Number 6. So, I guess I'll go on this one. Number 6, The Jungle Book.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I'm going to list this as my number 5. So, we can talk about it, but I'm just going to say this is my number 5. For reasons, and we'll get to why later, but I actually think this is a really much better adaptation than I gave it credit. Seeing it in the theater, I wasn't expecting too much. I like the original, but even that's kind of kooky. This turned out really, really well handled, more serious, more visually stunning. Seeing this in the theater was fantastic. And the song with Christopher Walken was just pretty awesome. But
Like, it was goofy, but it was enjoyably goofy.
and I like what they did with his character, because instead of having him King of the Apes, he's Gigantopithecus, which is this is something that would have existed back then and is, basically in charge of the food chain of monkeys. He's basically a mafia boss, and I really like the change to his character. I think it makes him much more
Intimidating.
much more intimidating, much more fitting,
Much more practical. Yeah.
more practical for the adaptation. So, I mean, I just liked the design of it. I like that they make the kid more likable, because I didn't like him in the original. I like what they did with Ka.
Poor Ka.
I like what they did with Shere Khan. Shere Khan, ooh, just
Shere Khan
perfect.
was scary.
Shere Khan was really scary in this film. The voice acting, all the people that they got, even though they got some celebrities, like, the voice acting was on point throughout the entire film.
Yeah, I would definitely say that. Well, maybe with the exception of Bill Murray, but I would have gone with somebody else, but that's just me. But yeah, for the most part, everyone was impeccably cast, and they did a really good job.
So I mean, like, it's not a perfect film. There are definitely points that I got brought out. I mean, I think Bill Murray's funny, but I didn't need all the stuff with the bear. I didn't really need so much time with Walken. But I mean, for what it was, I think this was a great film for Disney to showcase that they can actually make live actions work, because it's even better than the live action version that they made way back in the 60s or something like that.
What?
The 90s.
No, the live action. They did a live action version of Jungle Book that was back in the 90s.
Oh, 90s.
That was like
okay.
94.
Yeah.
That was like 94.
So
and
this
I
is-
remember that version because that was. No, the animated version was in the 60s.
Okay.
Then they did a live action version of it in like 94, and I remember seeing that one in theaters. That one doesn't really hold up very well. It's kind of weird how
It's
they
boring
go about it.
It's really boring.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, that's the thing I love, is that it took a movie that I really did not care for even as a kid, and it improved it vastly. Like, they made Mowgli into such a much more well-written character. They gave better personalities to all the other like animals, and the general flow of the story is much better. Because like the original kind of meanders around a lot, like it dwells on certain characters way too long, and nothing really happens other than this kid is going from point A to point B. At least with this, there's like a plot, there's tension, and there's development. So I definitely appreciate it for that so much. Like, take notes, Pete's Dragon. This is how a remake should be.
It improves on the original. It showcases much more about what the book was about, with like prejudice and racism, in a certain very specific sense. Honestly, this is where the films for me started getting really good, and if this is the lowest point for me of the ones I've seen, like, it only gets better and better from here.
Definitely.
And it does.
Okay, now number 5.
Number 5.
You
At
should
number
do this,
fi-
Eric, since your wife's boyfriend's in it.
Yeah. I was obligated to see this because because as per my fiance, I am obligated to see anything that Benedict Cumberbatch is in. Even if it's voiceover, which he does a very good job with.
Oh yeah.
So obviously this one is Doctor Strange. And this was a pretty good Marvel movie to go with, because they're just now starting to starting to expand more with the Marvel. Like they're expanding beyond the usual stuff. The Iron Man, the Thor, the Hulk, Captain America. They're expanding beyond that. I mean, they've started doing it since the beginning of Phase 3, but now we're getting into Doctor Strange, and a lot of like hardcore Marvel fans are excited about this because now they've introduced the multiverse, like the not the movie cinematic universe, but like the actual multiverse of all these different dimensions and stuff, and magic. So it opens the world of possibilities. It also have storytelling and future, and of course, of future Marvel movies when they get into Phase 4 and 5 and 6 and 7, whatever.
Yep.
But I like this. But I like this because of, Benedict Cumberbatch does a very good job. He does a very good job in the role. He pulls off an American accent very well, and then again, that's been proven in earlier films.
With one or two exceptions.
Yeah, with one or two exceptions, but the casting was.
You know what I'm talking about.
Yeah, don't ask him to do a Boston accent.
Continue.
That was kind of funny, but the casting was very good. The casting I know there was controversy with Tilda Swinton, how they changed the character. How the Ancient One was a dude, and it was a old Chinese dude, and it became a Welsh female actress, whatever. But for the context of the film, it still worked. It still worked regardless. But
plus, it's a little less racist.
Yes, but I mean, everyone else. I mean, like Benedict Wong as
Wong.
as just Wong. Was it? I think it was just Wong.
Yeah, just Wong.
Just Wong.
Who's listening to his Beyonce?
And
I love that.
guys,
we're not cavemen. We have Wi-Fi.
We're not savages. The guy who plays Mordo, I cannot pronounce his name. It's like Chiwetel Ejiofor. I am totally butchering the guy's name.
Just call him
I'm
Bob.
sorry.
Just call him Bob.
He was in Serenity. That's all I know. And The Martian and a bunch of other movies. But
okay, Bob Serenity. There you go.
Yes. So, but the casting was good. What really blew my mind was the visuals, and this will probably get nominated for Best Visual Effects.
It has to. Oh my fucking god! It's like it's like being on an acid trip and falling into a kaleidoscope. It is that awesome.
And we saw this movie the second time.
In 3D.
Me and Kat, we saw it second. 3D
Yeah,
IMAX.
we saw this in 3D, and this needs to be seen. I mean, I don't like 3D in general, but I think this is one film that really lends itself to 3D. This is my number 4 pick, by the way, but visually, more than any other film on this list, I think this is the standout. It does things that I didn't think were possible when it showcases certain visuals. It reminds me of Inception a lot of the time, where they have like mind-bending fight scenes and the stuff that they do. They do time-bending fight scenes where time goes forward and backwards. Also, the Dormammu, I've come to bargain.
I love that scene.
We won't ruin that. You guys have to watch that bit.
There are so many good moments in good fight scenes. If I had to say, maybe the weakest part is, I think the first 5 minutes when he crashes his car, and I'm just like, really? Like that? It's raining, you're on your phone, driving 80 miles per hour or more, and he just goes off a cliff, and the only thing that's crushed are his hands.
Yeah.
That's a little. I mean, yes. I've seen the Linkara's review of the original comic, so that's kind of what happens. But
yeah, the fact that he was in that horrific crash, which should have killed him on impact, and yet the only thing that got ruined were his hands. Like, yeah, I don't buy that.
But it does go to show, I think that the message involved, like, even those with disabilities can still find ways to make their life meaningful. And I like what they did with the person who found the energy to walk. Like, he had a broken spine and stuff like that. There are some questionable choices in the film, because I don't think Benedict Cumberbatch really learns his lesson later on in the film. He gets a bit more humble, but he never really changes as a character, and I think it works for Tony Stark. But in here, I think, while he does get better and he does understand more, he is still very cocky.
Yeah, that's actually what kind of put it a little lower on my list, is the fact that Doctor Strange himself is really kind of an asshole, but not in like the likable asshole that, Tony Stark is. I mean, they basically are kind of the same character when you think about it. But at least with like Tony Stark, like, he's charismatic enough and likable enough where you can sort of forgive him for all the stupid shit he does, and at least his heart is in the right place. Like with Doctor Strange, it's like, even though he does get humbled by his accident and, he has to relearn how to, like, do everything and how to use magic and work his way back up, you still don't really feel for him. He doesn't really have any real human moments that really make you feel for him. Like, it's not like, I kind of compare it like to Thor, where he starts off as an asshole, but then when he learns about his father and what went on without him, he has that moment where he like sort of humanizes in front of you, and that's what makes you love him. Like, I felt Doctor Strange never had that moment. Like, he doesn't really save anybody until the very end.
Yeah, I think they have room for him to grow as a character, although his interaction with the Cape does kind of humble him a little bit.
Best character in the film.
Yes. The Cape of Levitation is a great character, and I think another thing that really was great about this film, it had these moments where, even not knowing too much about the character, I knew certain things, like he levitates, and he has these specific things that are to do with the character. And they have these fan service moments, like when he first gets the cape and he starts levitating.
That was cool.
And he first does certain things, and I'm just like, okay. I've never seen something like this in a Marvel film, and visually what they do with it is quite interesting.
Yeah, definitely. Like, it takes full advantage of its visuals. Like, you could tell they poured billions into the visuals. That is what makes this movie. Like,
and Benedict does look the part.
Oh yeah, no doubt about it. He definitely is perfect for the role. I will give him that. I just wish his character was a little bit more rounded and less of an asshole.
Well, they'll have time for that more in the later movies. So maybe when they do a Doctor Strange 2 or
Thor Ragnarok.
I don't know how much of an impact he's going to have in Thor Ragnarok, because they already have Hulk in there too. So we'll see what
should be interesting. One thing we can all agree on: this is the best incarnation of a Doctor Strange movie.
That's not really saying much. Think about it. Captain America was the best incarnation of Captain America at the time.
I know, that's what I'm saying. At least everybody can agree on that fact for certain.
I think this isn't the best Marvel film this year, but this is definitely one that I think everyone should see. And it definitely has Phase 1 tendencies, but it's an origin story. And unfortunately, with a lot of these, people don't know the character. It's great that they're finally getting into the power cosmic and these characters, but we need to have another film like Avengers or maybe Thor Ragnarok. I'm looking forward to more films where these characters are present and we don't need that origin story.
Agreed. Definitely.
Also, I want to point out, and Kat, you are right, Doctor Strange does take place after Iron Man 2. You're absolutely right. Because I looked up, one video said that because of where it fits, because of the Avengers Tower that they show in the film, that it does take place after the events of Iron Man 2. You know, like after Avenger, like that kind of thing.
Iron Man 3 never happened.
Because there's also another Easter egg that ties
Agreed.
into that, and I'm just like, damn it, Kat, you're right.
Of course, I'm always right.
Now,
You know that by now.
number 4 for you guys.
Alright, I guess I'll start off with
Yep.
that.
Sure.
My number 4 is Finding Dory.
That is my number 3.
You, Eric?
Finding Dory was also my number 4.
Yeah, I know, like, it's a bit weird to put a sequel that technically shouldn't exist over a movie that, you know, is that finally gives like a mostly unknown superhero like his, you know, big starring role. But I do have my reasons. I will get to them. But Eric, tell me your thoughts first.
Originally, I had it flipped. I had Finding Dory at number 5 and Doctor Strange at number 4. But I remember listening to what you were saying, and I also did some thinking. And as far from an emotional impact goes, Finding Dory had a much bigger emotional impact than Doctor Strange's. Because Doctor Strange is, I mean, it's still a popcorn flick to me.
Right.
But Finding Dory did touch upon a very heartfelt message. And so, not saying that Doctor Strange doesn't have that, but Finding Dory, I think, just had much more. It had a lot more heart than Doctor Strange, which is why I ultimately ended up flipping it, because with Finding Dory, I feel like it doesn't have a lot of laughs than the first one did.
Yeah, the first one had a lot better jokes.
It had a lot better jokes, had a lot more humor, but this one there was humor, but
They had an octopus driving a truck. An octopus driving a truck.
I guess you
That
could say
goes
they had
off
more
the
visual
cliff.
gags.
They had very good visual gags, but like a lot of the stuff dealing with, especially with Dory and how she deals with short-term memory loss and figuring out where she came from and what her parents was, and like the whole point of why she was out in the ocean to begin with, you know, all that sort of stuff. It just ties it ties in with all of it, and it's just, you know, it just makes it more heartfelt.
Yeah, like, I will make it clear, like, I do agree with the critics in that there's no reason for this film to exist, because it's not really necessary. It's more of just, you know, a what actually did happen type thing. But given that fact, what they do with it is actually quite amazing. I mean, how many films do you know of besides Memento that stars someone with short-term memory loss?
Not many.
Yeah, and even then, Memento had to do a sort of like weird, you know, scatterbrain type timeline and had a darker element to it in order to work. With Finding Dory, they actually make it, you know, lighthearted, and while some of there's still some tragedy in it, they at least use it to, like, for character growth and development. And of course, you know, Dory, you know, it's Dory. She's fucking adorable and charming, and, you know, it's Ellen DeGeneres. How can you not like her? And the thing that really got to me the most was, you know, the fact that this is one of the first films I've seen that deals with, you know, how people with anxiety function, because I have anxiety myself, and the scene where she's trying to find her parents and then finds out that they may be dead and she has that panic attack, like, that was, like, for me, one of, like, the realest moments I ever felt in a Disney film. And it's like, it was just so well done, and then her trying to, you know, collect herself afterwards and trying to get herself back on track, like, I just, you know, I felt that, like, I associate so much with that. And the fact that she was able to do all this despite her disability was, like, really pretty damn inspiring. Granted, there was a lot of, you know, they had to write loopholes, a large amount of loopholes and conveniences for her to get to where she needed to, but still, it's pretty damn amazing that they managed to do this good a job with a character with such a severe disability. You were saying?
This film, I mean, I agree. When I first heard that there was a sequel to Finding Nemo, I'm just like, I don't know how they would do it. because Finding Nemo was so good, but then I saw this film, and I honestly think this is better than Finding Nemo in a lot of aspects. Finding Nemo is a great film, quite a great film, but I didn't cry watching it. I cried 3 times watching Finding Dory.
Oh yeah.
And
That's so hard.
it's these characters are all so real, and it's all about these characters who have disabilities, who think they're not able to do the things that they're capable of. They're constantly told that they should just stay where it's safe for their own good, and it's about them coming to grips with the fact that they can use their abilities to help people. And I do like how they tied it into the past films, but what really inspired me the most about it is just these characters, they through specific methods, they're able to teach themselves how to function and do amazing things despite their disabilities. It's just they have to learn in a very different way, and what they show and how they learn is really fantastic. And I think the biggest thing was, when they see the shells, the constant callback to the shells, the line of shells, and then she goes out of the enclosure, and then she sees lines upon lines upon lines of shells leading back to this one spot, and I just start tearing up because for years her parents never gave up hope. And I'm just like, oh my god, like I started crying, like bawling my eyes out, because it's such a beautiful moment.
I want to cry right now.
Like they never gave up hope. They always believed in her. They never doubted. And it's so easy for people who have children who are disabled to just doubt them because they know what they're suffering through, but they don't completely get it. It's not something that we should be pitied. It's something that you should just take a different approach with, and I love this movie for that.
Yeah, definitely. Like I said, it doesn't need to exist, but I'm glad it does. And they definitely did a good job with what they had. So, bravo, Pixar, bravo. So.
Pixar, you have done the impossible. Now do that with Toy Story 4. Do not make a bad film.
Please.
I mean, they killed off Lightning McQueen, so they know apparently what they're doing.
You don't know that for certain.
You don't know that.
Just
although
a
the
flesh
plot
wound.
synopsis online says otherwise, but
We'll
anyway,
not spoiling anything.
I know. We'll see.
So moving on to your guys' number 3.
Number 3 is going to be my number 3 is it came out fairly recently. It came out about a month ago, and once again I'm a sucker for musicals for this one, but it's a unique type of musical, and that's Moana.
Oh wow.
That's my number 3 too.
That's where I'm going to differ. My number 2, because I've already stated 5, 4, and 3. My number 2 is Captain America: Civil War. Moana is actually tied for number 1 with Zootopia.
Interesting.
Oh wow.
Because I could not decide between the two.
Mm-hmm.
Interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Well,
So you guys talk about Moana for a bit, and then I'll chip in in a few minutes.
okay.
All right.
You can go first, Eric.
Okay. Moana. What I like about it is that I like the type of music they're going with. They went with a very Polynesian style of music. Very Samoan. Lin-Manuel Miranda, who co-wrote a lot of who helped wrote and co-wrote a lot of the songs, does a fantastic job with it. He's the guy who also wrote Hamilton, so and I'm on and I've also been on a Hamilton high as of late because I've been listening to the soundtrack endlessly. But the soundtrack here for Moana is actually really really good, and it's a different type of Disney princess movie simply because they made her once again. They went with a stronger princess route. Like it's her, taking her responsibilities of being a princess, but she wants to go out there and explore, the islands all over the vast ocean. And she meets up with Maui, the demigod of the
Wind
islands
and sea.
Of the wind
Hero
and sea.
of man.
Hero of man, the most electrifying man of sports entertainment. Wait, because he's played by The Rock.
Name is John Cena.
Plot twist.
All right, enough of the wrestling jokes. But I think what surprised a lot of people was that The Rock was able to sing. I mean, I kind of knew he was able to sing because he did it like once or twice for WWE. Like he did a segment called the Rock Concert, quote unquote. And I mean, he can at least carry a tune. This was a little bit more This was a little bit more than what he was used to, but it's a little bit more polished. And the fact that he took the time to to be able to polish his voice up actually works well. And he gets his one big song, and it's pretty catchy. It was trending on YouTube a while back, and it's very trendy. But I also kind of think of it like this, like it's like, you think that I'm nice, but I'm really an asshole. Now I'm going to steal your boat.
Yep, that's pretty much the song.
That's pretty much the song.
I'm gonna distract you with this song so I can steal your little boat.
I was surprised because when I first saw this film, I didn't know Dwayne Johnson was playing Maui.
Really?
Oh, I knew it. Oh, it was announced a while back when they announced Moana that they
was like their big marketing thing.
That was their big marketing thing, was Dwayne Johnson as Maui.
Yeah, even the first scene they show of him, he's doing the eye. His raised eyebrow.
He's doing the people's eyebrow.
I avoided as much information as I could because this film looked interesting, so I wanted to kind of go into it blind. This film means a lot to me in so many ways. It's such a powerful film. They go a very different route with a lot of it. They have the villain of the film isn't really a villain. He's just kind of an asshole.
Which villain are we talking about?
Yeah.
There's 3 villains.
Well, it's like in a video game. There's the mini bosses, and then there's the big boss at the very end.
And then there's the flashy boss with the song.
That's Jermaine from Flight of the Conchords.
Yes. And he's shiny.
His song is weird and it comes out of nowhere, but I love it so much. And I'm just like, it's fitting because they're in the world of monsters. It's not going to be normal.
Was it my husband was saying that the song reminded him of a song by the Gorillaz. I forgot the title of it, but I listened to it and they do both sound a lot alike. Sorry, I don't remember the title.
I think I know what you're talking about.
There's a lot that's different about the film. Like I said, a lot of the villains aren't what they seem, and they really delve into each person's reasons for doing what they do. And I know people harp on, another father who's against his daughter doing stuff, but they actually delve into why the father is the way he is, and why he's kind of telling his daughter not to go out there. And you start to really feel for all the characters in the film, at least in my perspective. This person who's really, Moana is really wanting to do one thing and that feeling that call to do something, and society tells her to do something else. And then Maui, who is just abandoned by his parents and wants to do everything he can to get attention because of it. So many powerful ideas in this film that I haven't really seen that much in a Disney film before. And again, I cried a couple times during this film, especially during Moana's final song. the music of this film is top notch. I love, the person who did Hamilton, like you said, did these songs, but they have all these different energies. And I love the part, like, she's on the ocean and she sees the spirit of the Voyagers. Like, I think it's called Away, Away. That song is particularly fantastic. And the one song that recurs as a leitmotif for Moana is also one of my favorites as well.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, like, I like Moana's song at the beginning, how far I'll go. Like, because I know that's technically their version of Let It Go, and it's not as catchy, but I still like hearing it. I actually heard it while I was at lunch today. The pop version of it.
Yeah,
So.
I think it's actually better, in my opinion, than Let It Go, because Let It Go does not have the same impact lyrically, I think, because this says a lot more about the character, and it's a much healthier way of dealing with her problems.
Yeah, it's definitely a more uplifting song. Like, the other one is more, it starts off depressing and kind of leads toward the, well, fuck it route. Whereas this one is, like, more like, I'm going to go forth and I'm going to achieve great things. So it definitely, in terms of tone, is a lot better. So now that you guys said all the positives about it, do you mind if I kind of rip into it a bit?
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, so I just want to explain why this is my number 3 as opposed to 2 or 1. As well written, as great as Moana is, like I said, I really did love this film. I love the music, I love the visuals and everything. When you look at it story-wise, it is very by the book in terms of Disney. Like, when you think about it, it is actually when you think about it, it's actually a reverse Little Mermaid. Like,
it's Little Mermaid 2 done right.
Pretty much.
Mm-hmm.
And it has all the elements, with the princess and the animal sidekick, and, and they go off on this big adventure, and there's magic, and there's a singing bad guy. It's, everything that you expect to see in a Disney film, it's there. So it's tackling a new sort of, like, atmosphere. Sort of, not really, but you know what I mean. It's still, like, in terms of story structure, is very by the book. And, of course, it has one of the most retarded Disney sidekicks ever in existence.
Well, to be fair, this is the point of the character. They wanted to make the dumbest character in all of fiction.
But that's the thing.
They succeeded.
That's the thing, though. That wasn't the intention of the character to begin with. In fact, I read this. They were actually going to make the chicken be more like Sebastian from Little Mermaid. Again, going back to that motif. Where he's, like, really smart and he's, like, sort of acts as her protector and everything. But the higher-ups didn't like the character and were going to cut him. So they figured, well, the only way we could save this character is to make him comic relief, so let's make him dumb as hell so he's at least amusing to the little ones. So, if you're wondering why the chicken does absolutely nothing of use in the film, that's why.
At least he's unintrusive.
They literally
kind of is.
dumbed it down.
He's...
No, but he's, like, dumb to the point of suicidal. Like, he will willingly drown himself. He's that stupid. They have to, like, actually, like, put him off screen most of the time just so he doesn't interfere with the characters or become, like, an obstacle.
But the ocean's on their side, and, I mean, the ocean saves him quite well. Let me just say, the ocean as a character is such a brilliant concept, and the way they're able to make the ocean into its own character.
It kind of reminded me of the Magic Carpet.
In many ways, it was like the carpet. One thing
it's
I do want to...
It's like the cloak.
And going on to your point of things being by the numbers, I think the opening song with... not the opening, because I think the storytelling part was great, but the opening song where, like, the song about coconuts...
Right.
That's the song that I didn't really care for in the film. Like, I've listened to the soundtrack and I love most of it, but I think that is very by the numbers as a generic kind of opening tune to get you into the island.
Yeah.
And
It's
I
like,
mean,
oh, this is our world and we're happy and nothing could possibly go wrong as long as you don't do the thing. As long as you don't do the thing, everything will be fine. That's basically what the song is.
so yeah, I do see the problem with like things being a little bit too by the numbers, a little bit too this, but I think it does enough twisting where it counts. Not overall story structure, but twisting in, okay, this is a little bit different here, and this character has much more to tell in many different ways. I think going back to what I said about the father, like in normal Disney films, like the father is doing what he's doing, and you never know why. Like the Little Mermaid, you never know why he's so afraid of the human world. Here we get a lot of reason, like the backstory about his friend dying.
Honestly, that's nothing new either. They did it in Pocahontas. But except it's more understandable considering, the Indians are getting attacked by white men and we all know where this will inevitably lead. So
I don't know. I don't remember much of Pocahontas.
yeah, that's honestly, he kind of fits into that archetype of, the overbearing father whose thumb you got to get out from under. Like, there's nothing new with that. Also, I should mention, and like, I feel bad saying this, but I really did not like Maui. At least I didn't like how his character was written. Like, don't get me wrong, The Rock does a good job voicing him and like voice acting and singing wise and everything. It's just the concept of his characters, he's supposed to be sort of like a mixture of like Hercules and Prometheus and Hermes, all those like gods that are like tricksters or who have performed feats of strength and are considered heroes among men. But he's the reason why all this shit goes down, and he never shows any remorse over it. And he kind of like, the story has to bend and go like itself and go to such lengths just to keep him in the story, because that is how much he does not care.
But at the same time, he tells us why he was doing all of this, and he never realized what he truly was doing. I mean,
that's
yes,
the problem. That's the problem, though. He's supposed to be this hero of men, like the hero of the people, but we never actually see him with people. Like, he never has that moment of clarity where, he looks around at the devastation he's caused and is like, oh my god, what have I done? That never happens. And then in
that would have helped.
Yeah, that's the thing. He just seems like, at the most, he's doing this to help Moana, but he doesn't really care about people as a whole. Because otherwise he would have done this of his own volition a long time ago. That's the only thing that really bothered me about all of it. And like I said, the ending was a bit of a cop-out, and how he drags himself back into the story is unexplained and, quite frankly, predictable. So, yeah, that, to me, is what really drags the film down, aside from, having a formulaic storyline.
I emotionally, I felt this film was tied with Zootopia for personally, so I got a lot out of it. Anyway, we have been talking about this for a while.
Yeah, sorry. But I guess we'll move on to number 2 then. So, who wants to go do a number 2?
Well, you already know my number 2 is Captain America: Civil War.
Number 2. Number 2. No. Number 2. No. Number 2.
Just get on with it.
Okay. Number 2 is Zootopia. Because
that's mine as well.
This one surprised me because seeing the trailers and stuff, I thought it wasn't going to be as good as I thought it was. Because I mean, I look into it and I'm like, oh, it looks like a generic, oh, the animals, they're anthropomorphic and they're like people, and it's like, I kind of get this, and the fox kind of has the same color scheme as Robin Hood, but I didn't know it was going to touch upon prejudice and racism in a certain to a degree. I see it more as about prejudice than racism, but I didn't know it was going to touch upon such an adult topic for a kids movie.
And it's not just something that they just briefly discuss. Every single part of the film has to deal with sexism, racism, prejudice in some way. It's the driving catalyst of 95% of the film, and it's extremely well handled.
Oh yeah, the fact that, you know, it came out in the time that it did, and it's so topical and poignant for, you know, what's happening right now, like, really helped it out.
This is actually currently my favorite Disney film. It used to be The Hunchback of Notre Dom. Even though the gargoyles were a problem, that was my favorite for a long time because of how over the top its songs and some of it was. But this film has now replaced it, and I can honestly not find any faults in this film.
Yeah, honestly, I can't either. Like, it basically took a premise you thought would be another stupid kiddie flick with anthropomorphic animals, and they made it the most mature topical thing that's come out this year. Like, that's really damn impressive.
It does
Like-
so many things right, and I love how they're able to showcase, like, you know, people's stereotypes about, like, the fox, and, like, you know, how both characters are wrong in their own right throughout the film. And yes, they do kind of, like, they do kind of have some cliches, like, they have the falling out of the two companions, but it's much more understandable when you have this prejudice and what they're dealing with. And from the get-go, they weren't very connected to each other until later on in the film. So I think they go through a really great journey. And what they showcase on each side, that each side is wrong and right in their own respects.
Yeah, the fact that they, you know, showed prejudice not just in the bad guys, but the heroes as well, I thought was, like, very well done and, like, very well written. Because, like, you don't see that too often. Usually the good guy's the one who loves and accepts everyone, and then this one comes along and is like, well, actually, I have this this perceived notion about this character. And it's like, whoa. So,
Hey,
yeah, that
Light
was
in
really
the
surprising.
Forest, this is how you do it.
Yeah.
Light in the Forest, take note.
Yes, please take note of this.
But the thing I also think really helped it too was that it's not as dark as it could have been, and I've seen the extra features. It could have been really damn dark, but they actually make it pretty lighthearted by making it both a buddy cop film as well as a mystery. So, you know, it's fun and it's intriguing.
And the mystery itself, I didn't call. Like, I'm not going to give away who did it because it's not obvious at all.
Oh yeah, definitely.
No,
I'm
they
not
don't
saying
make it
anything.
obvious.
Yeah, like the way they wrote that was just so damn clever.
And then
Like-
when you actually, it fits so well looking back. Like, you're like, oh my god, that makes so much sense. It's we're not going to talk about it too much longer, but I think this is a perfect Disney film. I need to own it. And they did a lot to really showcase what's going on right now. So yeah, favorite Disney film currently.
Yeah,
And both
yeah,
I
no
was gonna
doubt,
say-
definitely. Sorry, go ahead.
both animated films that we've just talked about, Moana and Zootopia, would be great if Disney were to adapt either of them into a TV series. I would love for
agree.
Zootopia to be like a Law and Order or buddy cop like type Lethal Weapon type series where you get to see different parts of Zootopia and like investigating crimes, you know, that kind of stuff. And I'd love to see Moana as a TV series in which basically they go around to the different islands all over and they could create their own mythology and stuff like that. It would be something to see.
Kind of like Lilo and Stitch.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah, I agree. That would be really cool, you know, for both of them, as long as they try to retain some form of the animation, because that, you know, the animation both are really top notch.
It's also going to be interesting during the award season now, because now that we're in the midst of the award season, because right now both Moana and Zootopia are both nominated for Best Animated Feature for a Golden Globe. And this, I wouldn't surprise me if we see the exact same thing at the Academy Awards, where both Moana and Zootopia, where both Disney is basically fighting with both fighting with each other over
Yeah.
Best Animated Feature, which we've never seen.
I know, and Pixar's not even involved. That's the
No.
beauty of it. They're basically competing against themselves. You gotta love that.
And that's how good of a year this has been for Disney. But at the top of your guys' list, and second on mine, is Captain America Civil War.
Yes.
Yes.
And I only put this a little bit lower because I didn't have quite as much of an emotional impact as I did with the last two films. But what Captain America Civil War does right is the same thing I like about Ultron. It's philosophy. It takes a comic that many people didn't really care for and adapts it right to the point where it works so well. About two opposing factions, they both realize that there's a problem, and they go about it a very different way. And there's Team Cap and Team Iron Man, and they're all standing on different sides, but you can understand both of these sides, and, you know, they both have their points. Like, yes, these heroes need to be accountable for destruction. I mean, not just ones that they cause, but by being superheroes, they, you know, destruction happens. Villains are going to try to trash things, and they have to be accountable for that. But at the same time, they can't be under the thumb of the government, and they really put their arguments forth. And I love many of the scenes with Cap when like he's talking about like why he just can't simply submit and let, you know, things be, because it's who he is. You know, he has to be out there and go out and help the other people, because who else is going to do that? But Tony raises a great argument too, because, you know, the scene where he finds out that, you know, the Hulk accidentally killed someone in a building, and they're blaming it on the Avengers, and it's just like he feels every single death, and every time he wants to do something good, he screws up. And it's these character for philosophies are so fantastic.
Oh yeah, definitely. Like, I'm really impressed, given that when I heard it was being based on the comic, and I know how controversial that comic is, I was worried. But the fact that they rewrote it so that, you know, not only was it relevant to the time we live in now, but it included, like, arguments from all possible sides, like that, like, for a superhero film, that is really damn impressive.
And
like,
then you have people like Black Panther, who are just being introduced in the film, but I loved every second he was on screen. And he raised his points, and he's kind of independent. He changes sides a couple of times because he's the leader of his own country. And the scene in the airport where you have all of these different superheroes
best
on screen
scene ever
at the same time. It's brilliant. Where have you ever seen a film, aside from the Avengers Age of Ultron, where have you ever seen a film with this many superheroes done this well, interacting, and in so many fan service moments where you have Giant Man, you know, Ant-Man turns giant for the first time, and Spider-Man is done incredibly well in this film.
For once.
Yeah, really.
I mean, I liked Andrew Garfield in the costume. He wasn't a good Peter, but, like, this is a fantastic Peter and Spider-Man. He's quipping all over the place. He's doing these things. You have all these disparate characters who, in their own right, should not work together, and their interactions together are fantastic. There's so many emotional moments. You know, I love what they did with Hawkeye, and I love what they did with you know, Black Widow's characters in this film. I love a lot of these side characters getting the chance to shine, especially like people like Falcon and War Machine.
Best character ever. Love Falcon.
It's just a fantastic show from start to finish. It's a spectacle. It's introspective. It's quiet, it's bombastic, it does so many different things at the same time, and yet it works so well on so many levels.
Yeah, I'll be honest, the reason I put this as my number one is that it is very rare that I go into a movie with such high expectations and they are all met. Because, like, when I heard about this being made and I, like, saw the clips and everything, it's like, I know this is going to be awesome. It better be awesome. And it was awesome. It, like, fulfilled all my wishes. It fulfilled all of my fantasies that I wanted to see in terms of, like, a superhero all-out brawl. It was just, it was so damn satisfying. And I should mention I'm on controversial Team Stark. Sorry, that's just how I am. But, yeah. It was like that. It's like I'm not exactly a superhero fangirl, but oh man, that was just that to me. This film to me was like eating an entire chocolate cake, and it was delicious.
Now we have to wait for Infinity War to see if they can top it, because I know they're actually bringing in the Marvel hero Netflix heroes, Daredevil and Jessica Jones and the Punisher and Luke Cage. They're all going to be in there along with everyone else. And if they can do what they did with Black Panther and make me fall in love with everything. Like I've seen some of the TV shows. Like I loved the first Daredevil season. Second one was okay. But if they can continue to do what they did with this, I mean, this was... I felt in Civil War the same way I felt with the first Avengers film. I was squeeing with delight at every single scene, because this type of thing 20 years ago is unheard of. Especially...
It would have been impossible.
I mean, we were getting things in the 90s that were way worse.
Yeah, definitely. Like, honestly, I know the film has its own problems, and they have to write, like, leaps and bounds to, like, in order to get certain characters to fight, but I don't fucking care. I just think it's awesome. Like, I don't care if they have to do that again in Infinity Wars. I want to see that again. I definitely want to see everybody, and I want to see them at their best, in their prime, just, fist flying, magic flying, missiles flying, everything flying.
And Thanos. Thanos,
get off your fucking chair.
Infinity War. I do have one worry with Captain America Civil War, and that's the villain. When you find out who the main villain is, you look at what the villain's motivation was trying to do. I'm sitting there going, I realize, this villain has come closer to destroying the Avengers than any of the previous villains.
Yeah.
More than Ultron, more than Loki, more than all of them. And I'm sitting there thinking, well, Thanos is gonna have his work cut out for him.
It's kind of sad, actually.
I know, it kind of ruins all the other villains, because there's nothing that's gonna come. I'm worried there's nothing that's gonna come close to this.
But then again, we have seen a vision of the future, and while the Scarlet Witch was the one who made it, I kind of think it's foreshadowing of everyone dying. If the Incredible Hulk dies, and I've been saying this a long time, if the Incredible Hulk dies, shit will just get real.
I will go into my hole and cry.
I think what they might do is, it's kind of like with the comics, how like they have a rotating cast of Avengers. Like they might do the same thing here with...
Yeah.
They might do the same thing here, where you have the first generation of heroes, but then they're going to bring in the other stuff, and there's going to be a whole new generation of Avengers.
Yeah,
like they'll swap them out, just like in the comics.
It really depends. I think a lot of what I like about the idea of Netflix series in general is that they don't have to kill off Avengers.
True.
I would like them to bring back Quicksilver, because I still don't believe he's really dead.
They're not going to do that for legal reasons.
Yeah.
But
they're not.
I mean, like, there's so many things that they can do, and if they go through and kill with a couple of people, I mean, they can always bring them back. It's comic books. So,
yeah, that'll happen when they finally get their rights to X-Men, which it will.
I know, and 20th Century Fox is going to hang on to that for a while, because now that Deadpool is the hottest thing in the X-Men property right now, they're going to hang on to it for a little while.
And to be fair, they did Deadpool extremely well.
Honorable
It's
mention,
nominated.
Deadpool is the best movie of the year.
It's nominated for 2 Golden Globes, including Best Comedy.
And I went out and
I'm
bought
dead
it as soon
serious.
as it came out. It's a great film. So yeah, those are our top Disney films of this year.
Yep.
It's been as bad as some parts of this year has been. The movies, especially with Disney, have been fantastic, and I've seen some really great things. So we're ready to move forward to a new year of better films and hopefully better things to come. But with that said, thank you all once again for tuning in to our talk about Disney films. If you would like to interact with us, leave a comment down there in the YouTubes. We like to hear what you guys think. What are some of your top films for Disney this year? What are your bottom films? What are your favorite, least favorite? Let us know. We like to hear these things. And if you don't want to tell us on YouTube because whatever reason, you can always go to our Facebook group, facebook.com/The Disney Debate. We have a whole group set up to talk about Disney and upcoming films and the films of yesteryear, and we have a lot of things going forward. Or you can talk to us on Twitter at I am at Zenith Rule, and Kat is at Ephraim T. Rabbit, and Eric is at Y2Staller, although I don't think he uses Twitter all that much.
If I get a message, if you message me, or you just
gotta poke him a
whatever
whole bunch of times.
on Twitter, you just gotta poke me a couple times, but I will respond.
Bother.
With that being said, thank you guys again. We appreciate any interaction, and we appreciate you guys listening to this podcast. Thank you for making it this far with us. We have much more to come in this coming year. But I am Zenith Will Rule.
I'm Kat Macberrie.
I'm Y2Staller.
And this is CNN. Wait.
TTFN, ta-ta for now. In
And
2017.
just remember, if things divide you, punch each other in the face and eventually it'll work out. That's what Captain America Civil War has taught me.
Yep. America, fuck yeah.
Thank you for watching the Media Meltdown. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe for more awesome videos. And if you like what you see, show your support on the Patreon page at patreon.com/Media Meltdown. See you all next time on the Media Meltdown.